think that should work. Let's try that. Right, let me introduce the situation. You can't quite see it because it's directly below you, but we are heading about 300 at the moment, and we're in the Gulf of Maine. As you can see, it's very light conditions, and I'm caught in a bit of a pickle because I've got no autopilot at the moment, and in such light conditions and going off the wind. Let's see up at the top of the mast here, the wind's on the beam. There's no way to get it to auto steer with the sail tie unless I literally take the full mainsail down, which you have to kind of choose that when you're on a boat this size, because the mainsail weighs 500 pounds, like 220 odd kilos, whatever it is. And so putting it up and down, we call that a moonshot. It's a lot of calories. So it's like, how big is this gap? Can I just troll through here at 5 knots instead of having to do all that to get 7 knots? Like, we're not racing, we're not trying to get there fast, so we'll just go slow and just enjoy the quiet out here. Well, this will be a little bit different for you and for me. This is a 360 video, so pick up your phone and move it around, or swipe the screen. You should be able to see all around us now. You can see what I can see. This is the thing I'm most excited about with this opportunity we've got here, with me on the boat and you guys on the other side of the camera. There might be an opportunity with modern equipment to actually tell the story of what it is to be out on the water. So yeah, the situation is that we're heading to Portland. It's basically due west of us at the moment, and the tide running in and out of the Bay of Fundy and the Gulf of Maine is strong. So in these light conditions, we're drawn more by the tide than by anything else, and that can have some beneficial and detrimental effects. If the wind is going the same way as the tide, we have like 0 wind speed, right? The difference between the wind and the water is what makes the boat sail. If the boat's moving along at 5 knots in the tide, 4 knots in the tide, 3 knots in the tide, but whatever, a number, and there's that amount of wind, you feel nothing, right? And then go the other way, it's to your advantage then, because there's hardly any wind, but you're kind of being pushed into it, give you a bit of this and that. But the combo of what we've got here now is tide's drifting us north. There's just enough about wind to sail 300 maybe. The sail tie can't do it, it's way beyond the sail tie. So I'm going to have to steer for a while, at least to take as much advantage as I can, and then we'll go from there. Going from there will probably involve, well, it might be something as rudimentary as what I've done previously is take a line, tie it onto, this one has to be at 10 o'clock on this wheel, and then it goes down and around the base of the stanchion and goes forward and down into the main cabin there, and then kind of comes back up, or another one comes up, comes back up here and goes around and attaches to the other wheel at 2 o'clock. So then you can kind of like move the wheels from inside with a line. And if you want to make it, the boat I used to have, Challenger, she had a kind of nav station at the bottom of the stairs there, so you could take the 2 lines down inside and then pull the lines from inside, and that would keep the boat sort of on track. And then I developed it into getting the 2 lines attached to the mop and then crossing them over my body, so I'm now in like a hang gliding, paragliding situation with a Whitbread 60. Dear me. Wow, at least things are going well now. Well, yeah, so the plan at the moment is to get to the boatyard, and then the finances are looking fine for getting the rig out and getting the bottom cleaned. And then I have a bit of an idea about painting the lines that go around the bottom of the boat. There's like an orange and a yellow line that go around the bottom. They are original to these boats at the very, very beginning. Pierre Feldman had 8 of these boats built for the Mistral race. It never happened. What happened basically is that the Whitbread race, as it was called, was dying. Whitbread wanted to get out of it. So the first year that somebody else took it over from Whitbread, it was Volvo obviously, but there was a year where it was the Volvo race for the Whitbread trophy. The Whitbread like, we'll pay for it, just put your name on it. And then Volvo did, and then they realized, hey, we can make this work for us, you know. But it was all in this very like dicey moment in about 96, 97, 95, 96. And they had the new class of boats. The Whitbread 60s had proven themselves to be so much more economical to run, nearly as fast, like in percentage-wise in the 90s, as fast as the 90-foot maxis. And so suddenly there was the dying off of the maxis, and there was the dying off of Whitbread, and Pierre Feldman went, hey, maybe I can re-energize maxis and do a different race other than the Whitbread race. But what happened was it didn't work out. People were done with maxis, they liked the 60-footers, and Volvo stepped in, and suddenly there was an onward journey for that, and it was the right boat. 60 foot is the right length, and suddenly maxis like this were out in the cold. So he'd kind of orchestrated this amazing plan, got this whole race organized, got 8 boats built, got some of the best skippers in the world out on these boats, and then suddenly it was all just, everything went the other way, you know. So where does this boat lie in the kind of evolution of things? It's like late 90s. It was all being put together, but I imagine there was quite a budget in play. When I see some of the finish, when I see how it's, when I see the lines on the hull, sometimes I think those are not straight. Like, I'm not sure if I got some pictures here I can put in somehow in this format, but another time, like when I go around the boat, I'm like, it's got that feel of like, was this slapped together? But it probably was within that. And having worked for Clipper, they don't slap their boats together, but they are built like chom 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 on a production line. That's what one design racing is. And that looks very different inside from a custom one-off build, which is what an Open 60 or an Marker is, right? So there's a different level of finish. But in terms of where this boat's at in the evolution of sailing, it's like the ocean-going maxis of the 80s and 90s come to a point of evolution with this boat, with this Far design. And to me, looking at it, it is an exact copy of actually the Alan Andrews boat I had, which was itself development of the Far boat Yamaha. I used to own the boat Yamaha and America's Challenge, which were part of the campaign that started and then prematurely stopped in the 90s, in the 97 Whitbread race, Volvo race for the Whitbread trophy. I bought those 2 boats as a package deal when I started my company, and Yamaha was the race winner that proved in the 60-foot division that they could take on the maxis, right? It was an amazing boat, fantastic boat, lots of stories to tell about the bit of interaction I had with that boat. But the other boat I bought was the boat that was like the evolution on from that. Oh, here's the race-winning boat, and that sponsor and owner had bought the race-winning boat, got the race-winning team, had got a budget, got a design, and said, based on this, make us another race-winning boat for the next edition of the trophy. And that's what that boat was. And that boat launched in 97, and that's exactly when this boat was. So this is the pinnacle point. This looks exactly to me like a giant Whitbread 60, Volvo 60, carbon mast. Whitbread 60, Volvo 60 are the same thing, except for carbon rig, aluminium rig. So this to me looks like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. So if you were going to pick a boat to go west around the world, a Whitbread 60 would be a very good choice. A Volvo 70 is not a very good choice. They are very fickle boats. You remember that first edition of the Volvo with the 70-footers? They were getting broken up and bashed. They never went to Qingdao again, hey? They got too much damage. All the Pirates of the Caribbean had issues with their rams and stuff. Like, I can't remember exactly the details, but the that point in time when the 97, that critical race, the boats that then went off on that, Paul Kayard and the guys that were on EF Language, they were the guys that I think turned ocean racing from being about like men with pipes and yellow foulies into people that are looking for every inch and every degree and every 0.1 of a knot, right? And that's when we launched into this like new evolution of offshore sailing, which from my point of view, I've got a kind of like it's kind of good, it's kind of not good, right? I've been involved in it, and the technology that's come out of it is astounding. It's unbelievable. I watched that video with Mazala, are they called? I'll try and put it in the, if you can put a text into a 360 video, it's my first time, I don't know, but I will. But whatever they're called, they've got this boat, it's a foiling Marker 60. Inside, it's like a nuclear like substation from the future. It's like fucking levers and buttons and screens, and they've got hundreds of sensors in the boat, optic fiber sensors that go through the shell of the boat. And the young lad that was giving the 30-year-old man, my god, that was giving the walk around was saying that they just watch numbers all the time, looking at stress on everything going on the boat. Like that compared to this is 60s Star Trek to Discovery Star Trek, right? It's just, this is like comparing chalk and snow because they're both white. I gotta say, I got into doing super yachts for a while and it was very, very good, but I got terrible blisters on the end of my fingers from pressing buttons and it just wasn't for me. So I like this period of time. I owned a Whitbread 60 and it was fucking bulletproof that boat until I broke it. But that's not my fault. That boat was designed super, super light. It had an aluminum bowsprit, which I ripped off one day. It had aluminum radar mounts, which I ripped off a number of times, actually. It had aluminum push bits, which I ripped off. Aluminum wheels, which we smashed off in the first year. If Michael Timon ever watches this, you remember fixing the wheel that just came apart in my hand? Like, it was built so overlight that had that boat actually finished that race, it would have had so many modifications in port that if you'd have then bought the same boat, having done the whole way around the world, you'd been buying a different boat. It was like a prototype, essentially. So it was a very tough boat in lots of ways, but it had not been tested. This thing is that same period of time, but built super heavy by director, built to the Farr design, which Farr also, Farr and Freyers and Alan Andrews were kind of like, they were building the boats that were in the Volvo race at that time. This is a great design and one that I trust implicitly. Is it the right boat for going west around the world? I think it absolutely is. I think it absolutely is. But we need to change some stuff about it. So the waterline, that's where I started. Look around here, which you can do now, right? And I hope you have been doing through all this. There's bits of yellow line on the deck because the boats used to have like grey and orange lines. Sorry, grey and yellow, grey and orange lines. Orange lines because the boat was all orange and grey. And then orange handles here, and then orange in the center of the wheels, orange and yellow on the waterline, orange on the name on the back, orange on two stripes at the top of the mast. I've had an orange boat before, it's okay, it's a bit orange after a while, you know? I'm talking about actually like living with it when you're with it for hundreds of days, which I have been with Challenger, which was half orange. It is a bit like warning, you know? So I want to change the colors. I thought they're going for some black stripes would be cool, but somebody in the comments said it's see which way we're going here. Don't make it monochrome like all the other boats. So like, well, that's a fair point. You know what, we're way off course. God, too much talking. Call it steering to conditions. I've been saying that to people for 20 years. It's when there's a captain, you start wah, wah, wah. I love doing sail training, right? So wah, wah, wah is quite normal. And I'm not concentrating. I don't really care about steering, I gotta say. Like, I know how to drive really fast upwind in the worst seas you've ever seen in your life, and I've done 20 knots through the Southern Ocean for weeks on end. That is not as fast as boats can go, but it's fast enough. I am all done with standing at the wheel to do something that a machine can do just as well. There is the feel of it, which is great, but, you know, do an hour a day when you're solo on your own. Don't be doing it for 5 or 6 hours. There is so much other stuff to be done. If you're on the helm that much, something else is going wrong, baby. That's how people go aground. All right, so lots of the stuff about this boat is orange and 90s, but I think it's the right moment in time, and we know why they died off, because it's just Maxis were on the decline, the 60s are on the way up, and that becomes from the fact, I guess let's round that out, it is true, right? You get the extra length on the waterline for going upwind. It's brilliant. But when you're surfing downwind, the average like surfing patch on the front of a wave is about 60 foot. So if you're, well, now boats are going so fast they drive really down the back of the waves and into the back of the next wave. But on a normal like planing boat, you know, non-foil boat, as you get on the back of the wave, if you're like 70, 80, 90 foot long, you just plow into, like, the bow's in the back of one wave and the stern is still on the other wave. Like, it's in two waves so there's a very good reason why 60 foot is a better length. You see it when like Volvo 60s, Volvo 70s, Volvo 65s, right? So how can this still be advantageous for what we're trying to do? Well, we're going west around the world, right? So in that case, the waterline length is all to our advantage. The amount of upwind, if it's 66% of the trip around the world east is expected to be downwind, which is why they are designed to be reaching boats, then clearly going the other way, it's going to be 66% upwind and 30% downwind, 33% downwind, right? So downwind, as long as we can like do what we need to do, then it's about being light. This is 10 tons lighter than Adrienne, and being usable, being you know, we're going to go solo. So things we've got to change. Yeah, we've got the right boat, it's the right piece of equipment, it's from the right period of time. We know why they changed it, but that change is good for us. We need to somehow get the whole backstay arrangement here and get it in the cockpit. I don't care if the wheels stay out here, because there's lots of other ways of steering a boat that don't involve coming back here. Autopilot can do it. This is a giant hydraulic ram attached to the quadrant, which is what these the wheels are attached to the big carbon quadrant, but then the hydraulic ram is attached to a big carbon arm on the side of the rudder post, and that hydraulic ram can be driven in lots of ways, electronically and by steering, hydraulic steering, like on a fisherman's boat, right? So I can put a hydraulic wheel further into the cockpit. And for upwind steering, I've got to say, I don't want kickback on a wheel. Like, you go over a wave in an 80-foot boat going upwind, there is massive kickback in the wheel. I don't care what the mechanical advantage is. This is not French, you know, Gauloisie smoking downwind Vendée sailors with a light hand on the tiller in conditions like this. This is warfare. And the ocean is fighting, it's gripping hold of the rudder as it goes past and twisting it. So I don't mind a hydraulic interface, although obviously there'll be a massive loss of control, but who's steering anyway? So that can be inside, and then some kind of big canopy here. So like a visual change, less 90s, maybe black, but are we going to monochromatic? Take these winches or take the lines somehow into the cockpit. A canopy with more solar, but not very much more. Just that little bit of 300 watt here at 45 degrees north is basically keeping the battery charged with just the normal draw, but not using the autopilot, not using the water maker. Oh, we're totally crapped out here now. So just a little bit more solar, and then like a no, not Briggs and Gatehouse, a Watt and C hydro generator behind the boat. So these are things we want to do. So any ideas on any of that? I'd be very, very interested to hear.